All right, hello. So this is going to be my first marathon video, hopefully of many. Now I will say I'm not 100% sold on the game yet. I do think I am a little bit more sold than I was to begin with, just because of Bungie's reputation. I'm a big Destiny player. I'm pretty bummed with kind of how Destiny 2 has shaped up. I haven't played it much lately just because of where it's gone, but yeah, I don't have a ton of faith in Bungie, but I do know there's potential there. Destiny's one of my favorite games, so I'm kind of there's a weird bit of hope there that they will do things right, but I also don't really have faith in anybody doing extraction shooters because I just don't think most of these developers understand what makes an extraction shooter in my opinion. Personally, Arc Raiders I don't think is a good extraction shooter. It's a great casual non-extraction shooter. It's not, to me it's not. We're not going to get into that, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm very likely going to purchase the game, most likely just the base edition. I don't see enough there to want me to buy their deluxe edition for the battle pass and all that or whatever. I also don't like the fact that they're doing that for their first battle pass. I do like what Arc Raiders did, where they basically gave out the first 1 or 2 battle passes for free, just to kind of show a good faith. And I feel like Bungie kind of needs to do something like that, but they also have to make money. So another thing I want to say before we start here, I know there's going to be a lot of comments in the comment section. Well, maybe not a lot, but I'm sure there will be people commenting, oh, game's ass, bro, stuff like that. That's fair. You're entitled to your opinion. We probably didn't play it, but I know there's going to be a lot of people like that. Let me just say, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your opinion. Nobody cares about my opinion. Let's be honest. If you don't like it, don't play it. Spend your energy elsewhere on stuff you enjoy. Somebody on one of my Instagram posts said something like that. They hate what Bungie has done with Destiny, and they want to see them fail so that Sony absorbs them and puts the talent elsewhere and stuff like that. Like, that seems like a pretty shitty way to live your life. Yeah, go promote games you enjoy. Put your energy there. The whole hate to hate kind of thing it's a little strange. But anyway, I digress. This video, I kind of have to rush a little bit just because we only have about, an hour and 20 minutes or so left until the server slam ends. And I thought I want to be in game so I can kind of show some of the stuff here that I'm talking about. So I was going to spend the last hour or so playing the game, but instead we're going to do this again just so I can see, so I can show the different things that I'm talking about in these situations. So basically what we're going to do here is I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions and ideas, suggestions, whatever you want to call them, on what I've noticed from playing the game so far. Now, I didn't play any of the other testing. The server slam was my first hands-on experience with the game, so all of that is going to be from that perspective. It's also going to be from the perspective of purely playing solo. I did do like I think 2 games of Phil. It was just not for me. I'm not a random Phil kind of guy. I like to communicate. If I'm going to play with groups, I want to be able to communicate and stuff like that. And you just don't usually get that from randoms. So it wasn't really my cup of tea, especially going up against other groups that are probably communicating. So yeah, keep that in mind. This is all from a solo perspective. So some things may not come into play if you're playing groups and that kind of thing. So basically, I was kind of keeping track of all my thoughts. Normally I do it in like a text document, but kind of wanted to get it out there for people to see. Whether people actually saw it or not, I don't know, but it was just a place for me to kind of collect my thoughts while I was playing. Just something I could pop over to while loading into a raid or whatever. But most of this is going to be, I guess, criticism or constructive feedback, whatever you want to call it. Most of the positive stuff, I don't really think needs to be said that much because it's already there. It's already good. So we'll maybe touch on a little bit while talking about other things, but most of this is just going to be constructive criticism. I'm not the type that hates on a game for hating reasons, just to be an ass. I will, if I care about the game enough, I will offer my suggestions in what I think could help. So that's basically what this is going to be. So we'll start out here. I guess this one is a positive to start. I will say the faction reps / vendors in Marathon are extremely unique and actually really cool with their intro videos, etc. Production value there at least is far superior to a lot of other games, if not every other game. So yeah, like I've played a lot of Tarkov. I've played my Arc Raiders. I've played a lot of extraction shooters and just games in general. And I really like the uniqueness of all the faction reps and vendors and stuff like that. I really, okay, so I guess this isn't something in my list, but something I've been meaning to say as well that kind of touches on this. I really, really hope that they really focus in on the lore and the storytelling and stuff like that, which we know Bungie is, for the most part, pretty good at. And I feel it's something extremely lacking in other extraction shooters. Arc Raiders, I'm sorry, but the quests and everything in that game are some of the most boring ass quests I've ever done. There is so much lore and world building that Arc Raiders could be doing, and they did none of that, in my opinion, with the quest lines. The quests were so boring. I did not feel pulled into the world or immersed at all. My coffee machine broke. I need you to go get me coffee machine parts. Like, it just stuff like that. I get having little side quests, but it was everything. Everything was little side quests. Now, we haven't gotten too much into the marathon stuff yet. But even right from the start, just having the introductions and a little bit more world building and lore and stuff there felt a little bit better with the what are they called, priority contracts. So I really, really hope that they get even better as we go along, and that we have some like deep, solid lore building quests, because I think that's something very lacking in these types of games, especially when you're doing wipes and stuff like that and you're forcing people to do stuff over again. You need some interesting stuff to do. And for me, that was a big thing with Arc Raiders that killed it for me. One of the many things that killed it for me, it was extremely boring. The quests weren't worth repeating, but you kind of had to if you wanted certain blueprints, stuff like that. Yeah, that was a big one that killed it for me. But yeah, so far really cool with these vendors. No more Jimmy the mechanic that wants you to go fix his coffee machine. These vendors, I really liked Vulcan, but all of them had their own like unique style and unique personality, which was really cool. And I really, really hope we see more of that. I'm sure we will, but I just want to point out that was one thing that was really cool. Now, I've heard conflicting things about this. Again, this is kind of just my opinion. Did I comment more on this? Okay. Audio was terrible. Was the overall like ambient sound and like the world sound good? Yeah, like a lot of stuff. There was a lot of noises and living world kind of noises and stuff like that. There was the very distinct footstep styles of players versus the AI. So obviously the UESC, which I keep calling USEC because of Tarkov. The UESC obviously they have the metallic clunk footsteps, whereas players have that more soft but thuddy kind of footstep. So yes, you could very much distinguish between player footsteps and UESC footsteps, but other than that, I thought it was terrible. Verticality wasn't really there. Not that there's that much verticality in the game, at least for now. There's maybe a floor, maybe two, maybe three sometimes in certain spots. But I found it difficult to determine whether somebody was above me, below me, on the same floor as me. And then distance felt really off in a lot of cases too. Now, gunfire is a whole other thing. Being able to judge the distance of gunfire, we got to get used to the different guns, that kind of thing. That was kind of whatever. But in terms of like footsteps, everything sounded just really loud, which kind of helps in terms of picking up on footstep sounds. But the distance was off to me. I remember one distinct time I was on a roof and the footsteps sounded like they were right under me. There was like a doorway under me, and I knew that because a lot of time with sound, knowing the layout of an area really helps you kind of figure things out if you can't quite tell where something's coming from, right? You use that map knowledge to okay, I know there's a doorway under me. I know there's not a doorway above me, so they wouldn't be above me because they passed through, right? So I knew I was on a rooftop. I knew there was a doorway below me, and it sounded like they had come inside. I had shot them, they had ran out, but and then I went up on the roof, and they sounded like they had come in through that door and were under me. And I looked down, and I was looking for them, and they were actually like maybe 20-30 feet down a catwalk on the outside, and they ended up shooting me a bunch. I ended up killing them afterwards, but they caught me off guard because I was looking where the footsteps were, and they were like off in the distance. So that was one thing. And then because there's so much ambient noise and the UESC are really loud, it can be really hard. And then the rain and the thunder and there's so much going on, so much loud audio, that it could be really hard to actually pick up on those distinct footsteps at times. Now I haven't tested the audio too much, so I don't know the difference between walking and crouch walking. I don't know if crouch walking is much slower or quieter, but people were able to sneak up on me quite a bit just because I couldn't hear in a lot of cases. So I tweeted this in the moment saying it was awful. And I don't know if it's awful is necessarily the right word, but there is definitely room for improvement on the audio. But yeah, that's just me. Moving on to the detailed damage report. This is something I really don't like either. Even Escape from Tarkov still hasn't gotten to the point that I would like it to be at, but Marathon's terrible. I am somebody that likes to learn from my deaths, and I think that's very important in these types of games. I want to learn from my deaths. I want to know what happened, what I can do to improve, what I can do to change things. And there is essentially no room for that with Marathon right now. When you die, it just says Jimmy killed you and did 169 damage, and that's it. There's no way to see it afterwards either. You just see it in that screen, and then when it kicks you back to the lobby, you get all the other after action report stuff, but you can never see that again. Tarkov has gotten better in that it shows you what parts of your body you were shot with, what type of ammo, that kind of thing. I would really like to see that expanded upon in Marathon. I would like to see a breakdown. There is a bit of a breakdown, like if you're taking damage from multiple sources, it will show those multiple sources, but purely just the damage dealt, right? When you go down, there is like the kill feed, and you will see the small little teeny tiny icon of a gun and what kills you. But if we go and look at the guns, let's say they kills you with the V11 punch, right? This thing here. Well, in that tiny little icon that you only get to see for a short time, you have to figure out, okay, was that a V11 punch? Was that the CE? Because they kind of look similar. Was it the Volt Thrower? Because that kind of looks similar. It's really hard to tell when it's that teeny little icon, right? So I would like to see that expanded upon. I'd like to know what shell they were. Obviously, if you can see it, you might know, but if they shoot you from long range or something like that and you never actually see them, you don't know. Stuff like that would be nice. What shell they were, what weapon they used. If I don't know if they show, like if they hit you with an ability, let's say Vandal, for example, if she hits you with her shot cannon, whatever, her cannon thing, and then shoots you a bit, I don't think that is distinguished in that kill chart. So it won't say like she did 69 damage with her cannon and then 100 damage with her Volt or whatever. I don't think it splits up. I think it just purely shows how much damage that source did to you. So yeah, personally, I would really like to see more detail on that. Again, just so I can learn. And even just for weapons, it's like, oh, they did 169 damage with the, I don't know, with the V11 punch. That seems like a pretty damn good weapon. Maybe I'll try it out. Stuff like that. I would love to see more detailed reports there. I'm sure there's more detail I would like to add to that, but for now, it's just kind of stuff like that. This was another one too, kind of going back to those guns and knowing what that person used. I'd like to try out guns because there are so many, and this isn't like Escape from Tarkov, ABI, that kind of thing, where you're going in and you're shooting M4s and AKs and, you know, stuff you're familiar with. There's a lot of guns in here that might have some similarities, and if you've played Destiny, like the BR, what is it, the BR-33, that's very similar to some of the pulse rifles. So there's some familiarity there, but there's a lot of like unknown new weapons here that I personally would like to try out in a shooting range. And not having a shooting range, or Tarkov obviously has the offline raids as well. A place to test for free without risking anything would be nice. The same goes for shells, right? Trying out different shells. I've seen people using Vandal and shooting the ground and using it to rocket jump, basically. Testing out stuff like that. Another one for me was with Destroyer, his thruster thing where you boost in the direction you're moving. I was wondering, if I stand still and jump and boost, will I go straight up? You don't, you go forward. But stuff like that, obviously I can test in an actual raid, but it's not really what I want to be doing. I want to be testing outside of a raid as well. More importantly, with weapons, seeing how weapons feel. You don't want to get into a gunfight and not really know how the gun's gonna feel, and you're just obviously risking gear for no real reason. So having a shooting range would be fantastic. I hope we get something like that. And yeah, and as I said here, controlled environments, there are certain factors that are going to come into play that might make things feel different between normal conditions and even just like overheating and stuff, right? Because your heating, your cooldown is quicker if you're out in the rain or water or whatever. Stuff like that can affect testing. So it's nice to have more controlled environments. Moving on, I wish the spectate at the end of the run wasn't timed. So when you die, if there are people still in raid, or when you extract or die, if there are people still in raid, you could it'll throw a random spectate on somebody. You don't really know who they are or anything like that, but it will start spectating them. But it does kick you out after about 30 seconds or so, and it kind of sucks. I know in certain situations, well, maybe not. Again, I didn't play too much group stuff. I was going to say, if you die and leave, then you can kind of give information to your team, and that's not great. But I'm sure there's ways to get around that. But either way, I would love to be able to stay in that spectator screen and watch. Playing Dark and Darker or Dungeonborn, that's sadly shut down because of poor management, I guess. Both of them you could spectate people, similar to how you can in Marathon, but you could stay in there and switch between people. And some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen was while spectating people, seeing people get chased down by monsters and stuff in Dark and Darker and just getting absolutely destroyed. It's a nice little break, especially after you die. Watching something bad happen to somebody else in the game kind of makes it feel a little bit better, you know? So it's not a major thing, but I would like to see, I'd like to be able to spectate after and kind of stay in there until, as long as I want, basically. This is just a minor little thing, but I wish the game would remember that I have solo selected and not default back to fill every time I restart the game. When you go into the prepare here, so I just started up the game, so it's gonna have me on fill at the moment, right, instead of on solo. So again, not a huge deal, but it'd be nice if it remembered what you were last on. Yeah, again, just a minor thing, but something I'd like to see. Here's a huge one. My mind is absolutely confused as shit how this got through testing, and no one was like, hey, it'd be nice if we can compare weapons. Yeah, like, not only just like in raid and runs, but like just in general, there's so much stuff, right? So if we go into our loadout here, guns too, but this is the big one. I guess shields to an extent too, but it's mainly the implants and the cores. So all of these cores, or all of these implants, they do have the distinction of whether it's a head, legs, or torso piece. But let's say we put this on, right? So we've got the distance runner. My face is kind of in the way. Let's take it off for a sec. Distance runner version 2. The thing is they're going to have different stats as well as different affixes, if you want to call it that. So in this case, it's the fast twitch fiber, right? And there are, I guess, graceful landings is a better one here because I have multiple of them. So you have graceful landings with finish the job, and then you have graceful landings with recycle. Obviously different abilities. Now, gracious landings are always going to have the same stats, but they will have different affixes. Same with, what do we have here? The bionic leg upgrades. So again, they have the same stats: agility, self-repair, finisher siphon, agility, self-repair, finisher siphon, but they have balancing act versus second wind. And even then, comparing between the two, graceful landings is going to have a different set of stats than bionic legs. So having this on, and you're in the middle of a raid, and you, I found a bunch of yellow ones. Okay, we got bionic legs, and I got graceful landings, and then I got distance runner, but I can't see the comparison side by side. At least from what I've understood, I have not found a button or anything to compare. And that is just like, I don't know how anybody didn't suggest that. With all the testing they did, I don't know how that never came up. Or it came up and people that care, or people in charge, just didn't give a shit. That is so beyond like a miss. Like, it boggles my goddamn mind. Imagine playing something like PoE or whatever and not having that. It's crazy to me. At the very least, have a button to push that will show your currently equipped one with this one, right? But even just mousing over and having that instant comparison, that instant side-by-side comparison, showing both and saying, okay, this one's equipped. You obviously want to know which one's equipped. So having a little tag saying equipped is nice too. But it is, again, it's so crazy to me that in this thing's entire testing cycle, that didn't come up, or somebody in charge wasn't like, yeah, we should probably do that. That makes a lot of sense. In any game where you're swapping gear and upgrading and stuff like that, that should just be the standard. I don't know, that's such a basic feature to me. Crazy. And same kind of thing goes with everything, really. Since there's all different cores and stuff like that, having to like, let's say you're playing this guy and you have this core equipped and you find a couple new ones. Well, now you're looking over here. Okay, movement speed, creep, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I gotta go back here. What was this? Okay, that's okay, but okay, I kind of want this. And then you switch that one. That is so much time spent sitting in your inventory in a game where somebody can sneak up on you in a quick time to kill and you're just dead because you were sitting there trying to figure out what was better because you have to go back and forth. Ugh, it infuriates me that that was not a thing. And I mean, it's kind of the same with weapons too. It's not like as big of a deal with weapons, but kinda. Like if you have 2 weapons equipped, I should be able to mouse over this one, see that, and then have the other 2 weapons, their stats and everything right there alongside it so I can see. Crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me that that was not a thing that found its way into the game at any point during testing, all the way up to release. That is not in the game. It's so crazy to me. So crazy to me. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on from there because that makes me mad. I don't get it. I don't get how that was not a thing. Now, did I comment extra on this? Implants, especially with all the different stats and effects they have, not being able to see them side by side is insane. Yeah. So at the very least, I feel like we should have a button we can press, but ideally I would like it to be you just mouse over a weapon. It shows that weapon's stats, both weapons you have equipped, their stats, and then the same for implants as well as cores. Maybe other things too, probably mods and stuff as well. All that stuff. There has to be a compare feature in some form. Anyway, moving on. That shit gets me heated. Okay, so I know a lot of people have issues with the menus, and I do feel they are kind of ugly and unnecessarily clunky in some spots, even after you have get used to them a bit. A main menu button that's always there, I think, could help. So right now, when we're out on this screen, right, we have all these buttons on the bottom: your shells, your vault, your crew contracts, little quick ways to get around. The problem is you go into something like the Codex and you go deep. You go real deep. You're down there looking at stuff. Actually, one example, I was doing the faction stuff. I was doing the sponsored kit things where you bring in that faction sponsored kit and extract with that character and you get a skin. So I'd come in here, see which ones I've done and haven't done, whatever. So now that I'm in here, there is no quick way to get back to the menu, or to my vault, or to anything. All those buttons that were down here before are just gone. So the only way to get back is I have to hit escape, just to get back to here. At the very least, there should be a main menu button and a vault button that's always down there, so you can hop around. Having the faction thing there is nice too. This one's a little weird, the crew contracts. I guess it's fine. Like if you're in a crew, you can see what contracts you have, but I'd like a factions button maybe too, a quick faction button. Yeah, so that personally would be something I'd like to see that would help with these menus feeling like Destiny menus on menus. Yeah, just like a quick way to get main menu, vault. At the very least, those two would be nice instead of having to hit escape 69 times. With that, I feel like there was something else with menus too. Oh, there could be some consolidation of stuff as well. Like to me personally, loadout and vault, these two buttons make no sense. Have vault, and then maybe over on the side here, have a little arrow that pops out your character and stats, right? This is the only difference between those. You either have your shell with all your stats, or you have your vault. Just have like a little pop out where I just click the arrow and this slides over, and then I click that arrow again, it goes back to this. We don't need 2 extra buttons up here. There's probably other stuff that could be Consolidated as well, but that was the main thing for me is consolidating those two down. Again, that arrow just kind of keeps everything a little tighter, maybe feels a little less overwhelming for people. I mean, it's still a button you have to press, but I don't know. That's just what I think. I would like to see something like that. Just makes it a little easier for me. Now, this one's a personal preference thing. I hate when I scroll wheel and it goes through like everything I have, right? So not so much in this, but in other games, you'll scroll wheel and it'll go through your primary, your secondary, it'll go to your grenades, it'll go to your gadget, it'll go to something else. I hate that. When I'm scroll wheeling, I'm trying to get from weapon 1 to weapon 2. That's it. In Destiny, it's the same thing. It's the same carryover from Destiny. I don't want to scroll wheel to my heavy weapon. If I want to pull out my heavy weapon, or in this case, my knife, I am going to deliberately press my 3 key. Pulling out my heavy, pulling out my knife is a very specific moment that I'm very deliberate about. I only want to be able to scroll between my 2 weapons. I'd love an option for that. Probably not going to get it, but yeah, in Destiny, I have to set my weapon 1 to scroll up and my weapon 2 to scroll down. Sure, I can press my numbers, but my finger is pretty much already beside my scroll wheel. I'd rather be able to scroll wheel than take my fingers off my movement buttons to press a weapon button. But again, that's just me. It's not game breaking, but it's super annoying as somebody that mostly scroll wheels between my weapons. I would love the option to lock it to just my weapon 1, weapon 2. Moving on from there, free look. I would love a free look, whether it's middle mouse button or alt or something. Typically, you'll hold the button and then you can move your mouse and look around a little bit more while running in a straight line kind of thing. It just lets you keep eyes on your surroundings a lot more. Another big thing is the fact that some of these guns are so ridiculously bulky and you hold them in such a horrible way. The V11 punch is one, especially when you start getting attachments on it. Your character holds it like up in front of their face the whole time for no reason, and it's just like in the way. It's big, it's blocky, it takes up like half your screen. I'm trying to stay aware and keep an eye on things. So it would be nice to have a free look to kind of avoid that a little bit, so you can look around a little bit more. But yeah, a free look I think would be nice. The mod system I think is absolutely terrible. So many of the mods and stuff look exactly the same. And then beyond that, we'll get into it. But yeah, if you go in here and you look at some of these mods, so a lot of, once you start getting used to it, and obviously you have the little symbol up here too. When you start looking at these things, even the chips or whatever, a lot of it looks the same. Now this is an optic, but it's kind of just because of the art style, the kind of boxy, generic, just random shape kind of stuff. This optic kind of looks like a muzzle device, maybe even more so than some of the muzzle devices. So at a quick glance, you're not really sure. And again, without a compare thing, that kind of sucks too. There's a bunch on the mod system that I'm not a fan of. Again, no compare system kind of sucks. Not kind of sucks, it really sucks. Again, if you got 2 weapons on, let's just say these 2, they both already have mods in here. If I mouse over another mod, it highlights the slot, which is great, but I would love it to pop up and show, okay, weapon 1 is this mod, weapon 2 is this mod, and you get that comparison. Because I don't know if I have a good example. I don't really have a good example here of things I'd want on one and not the other kind of deal, but yeah, I would love to have something like that. Again, comparison would be huge. and just being able to see these, because you can't really tell these mods apart. Like, all these mods do different things. Sure, they look a little bit different, but those looks mean nothing to me, right? Like, seeing that little wing on this first one doesn't tell me that it's a melee reload thing, right? So having a comparison to see how it compares to my other chips would be huge. I'd also love to see a little bit more universal mod options, or consolidating into more universal stuff. Like, this specific mod goes on 3 weapons and only 3 weapons. This thing goes on 1 weapon. This thing goes on 5 weapons. This thing goes on 2 weapons. Playing stuff like Escape from Tarkov and that kind of thing, most optics will go on a Picatinny rail. So if something has a Picatinny rail, that optic or whatever will go on it, or that flashlight or whatever, right? But in this, everything seems super specific on what it has to go on. The amount of times that I've gone in and I've had 2 weapons and I'll open like a mod box or something, and there's like 4 or 5 mods in there and absolutely none of them go on any of my weapons, is so annoying. It's so annoying. And you would think in a world where they're like 3D printing shit or whatever, they'd at least have some conformity there where these 3D printed things can go on pretty much everything. So obviously, like, the shotgun doesn't have an optic slot, so you're not going to put an optic on there. But I feel like in most cases, every optic should be able to go on every weapon. I don't know what the balancing implications there is or whatever, but yeah, there's way too much proprietary shit. And it's just like, again, everything kind of looks the same and everything's just boxy and hard to tell at a first glance. And again, there's no comparison thing, which sucks. But yeah, anyway, lots of stuff there that I think could very much be improved with the mod system, that I would like to see changed. Wait, did I have any more here? Oh yeah, moving mods around and such is a chore as well. You can't drag mods off a gun and onto your into your inventory or into your vault, or onto another gun. You have to press and hold F to remove it, and then you have to go looking for it to bring back over. So let's grab a gun that actually has an optic slot on it, or even just the mods. The mods are a fine example too. Does this have a mod on it right now? It does. So I tried to do it there. I have to press and hold F, wait, it goes off. Now it's somewhere here. But let's say I want to put this slip protocol on this. So I can't just click it and drag it over. I have to press and hold F. Now it's going to go into my inventory. So I went, oh, well, now it looks like every single other one. So I don't remember what one it was. Now I have to go looking for it. I mean, I knew I knew what the shape was before I took it off, but if you didn't, you then have to go looking for it just to bring it back over. So the click and drag system's there, but it's just not fully implemented, right? So yeah, having to press and hold, super annoying. And even with weapons that share, do I have 2 of the same? I do. Even weapons that share the same things, that's another thing. I can't click to, oh yes I can, I was holding control, oops. Anyway, so this optic, this far reach optic, obviously the same gun, right? I can't just click and drag it over there. Super annoying. And even just have it swap, like if I want to click and drag, have it swap. But yeah, I would love to see that system implemented a little bit better as well, just to make the modding much easier. Yeah, I think that's it for mods. Moving on, there needs to be a way to see keywords. They're usually highlighted in blue, but there's no way to actually mouse over it for what it actually means. Shield, for example, are +1 or reinforced, which visually just extends these one slot but it has the same length as +1. So this gets into another thing as well. But if we look at shields, so this one right here, the V1 protector, it's just +1 shield slot, right? And then we find the reinforced ones, reinforces your base shields. Reinforced shields takes half damage. So personally, I know from testing that when you do the +1, so when you don't have any shields, you just have the little gray square, right? When you do the +1 shield slot, you have 2 that are now green. With the reinforced, it extends the first one to about the same length as the 2 separate ones, right? But I don't know if there's any other implications there. I don't know if 1 square is, let's say, 20 health, 2 squares is 40 health. Is that extended bar still also 40 health? And if so, reinforced, does that that just seems better to me. That just, you should never use the +1 if you're just taking half damage with reinforced ones and you're still getting that same amount of HP, right? But the blue text there, I can't click on that in any way. I can't inspect it. I can't click on it. There's other things with meds and such. For example, I guess these are a good example. So even if we inspect this, we can't see what frost does. We can't see what immobilize does, overheat does. Obviously, some of these we're gonna learn and figure out just from playing. Like obviously immobilize is immobilize, you can't move. Overheat your stamina bar, but like toxin is obviously a poison, but I'd like to see details on it. So the fact that we can't click any of these kind of sucks. And then certain things we can't see what they actually do. Like again, I know what this does now just from playing. Adds buffer against hostile data corruption. So at first I thought, okay, well, is that just something like this where it's protecting you from hacks and that kind of thing? No, it turns out this is for going into lockdown events on Dire March. But there's no way to really know that, except if you go into here. Yeah, if you go all the way down, you go into your codex, go into loot, combat utility, consumables, and then go down here. Where is it? Antivirus pack. So I don't know for sure, but you use an antivirus pack 10 times and then maybe you get some intel that tells you what it does. But having to use something you don't know what it does 10 times just to see what it does is a little weird. Like, I guess in a sense, in a real world situation, like Jimmy's gonna have to eat this poisonous mushroom a couple times to find out that it's poisonous, or at least his friends will find out it's poisonous when he dies. But it's just a little weird. It's a little weird that you have to use something 10 times. And I don't even know for sure that this does give you info on what it does. It might just be like, oh, it was designed by, I don't know, NewCal for some shit, you know? But yeah, there's some stuff in the game that there's just not enough detail there. And again, you can't click on those blue words to kind of get some further detail. So stuff like that would be kind of nice. And yeah, this is just more about the shield thing that I was talking about here. I don't really know the shield situation just yet. But that might just come with more time. I feel like the lack of a hideout is a pretty big miss with Marathon 2. Something pretty much all extraction shooters have in some form. Another thing to give you goals, upgrading, collecting cool things, etc. Tarkov still has the best hideout. So for those of you who haven't played Tarkov, your hideout's crazy. You can do, you're basically upgrading it. So you're going out and getting materials to upgrade your workbench to level 1, 2, 3, your med station to level 1, 2, 3, and it lets you have different crafting options for meds and that kind of thing. But then on top of that, it's got like a collector section too, where you can store like trophies and stuff like that. and it's something you can actually walk around in and look at. My favorite part of it is the gun wall and the mannequins. So the gun wall, you can just put your guns on this gun wall and it'll display your guns in your hideout, which is really cool. And then the mannequins, you can actually put armor and weapons and full kits on this mannequin, and then you can actually swap to that kit. You just go to the mannequin, click swap, and it'll swap what you have on or what's on the mannequin, and they'll swap spots. Really cool stuff there. And even just for displaying, like I have a bunch of boss armor from Tarkov on my mannequins just because it's cool. It's cool to have it on display. But again, it gives you something to work towards, and it gives you content to aim towards, something to do, something to achieve. And I think a lot of extraction shooters lack that. And I think that's a big miss here in Marathon. Again, is it a big deal breaker? No, but I have the exact same concerns I had with Arc Raiders, where there's just not going to be enough to do. Obviously, they held back on their server slam, but I don't know how much. If your quests and stuff aren't interesting, it's rough. In Arc Raiders, for me, really, all there was left to do was to just PvP. And because I play solo all the time, I'm in these passive lobbies because I don't like to shoot people in the back. I like PvP. I want PvP. But because everybody's running around, oh, don't shoot, I just feel bad shooting people. So I can't, I have to like force myself into these PvP lobbies by being an asshole, essentially. I don't really like that. But yeah, that was essentially all I could do in Arc Raiders because the trials were horrible. I don't care what anybody says, the trial system, dog shit. Especially for solos. Absolutely boring ass things to do. Just there's nothing in Arc Raiders for me to do. I've done everything I can. And again, the quests are boring, so repeating them is just not fun. At least in Escape from Tarkov, the quests are a lot more interesting. They make you do more interesting things, more engaging things that you aren't just gonna complete right away. Using certain guns, using certain loadouts. Some of them are a little goofy, but it's at least something different. It keeps things at least a little bit fresh, so repeating them doesn't feel as bad. But yeah, anyway, this was about the hideout. Not a deal breaker, but it's something I would like to see, especially with this kind of aesthetic. You could probably find some cool things. You could display your drinkable cheeseburgers everywhere. Something like that would be nice. Now I know this has been talked about a bunch, the time to kill. There's a spreadsheet and everything. We won't get into that, but I don't mind the time to kill being on the higher end because I do think it rewards skilled players. Not that I'm the most skilled player, but I do think in a quick time to kill situation, the better player is going to win, right? In most cases. Now, obviously, getting ratted and whatever, you got that stupid invisible guy, that's a whole other issue. More so in solos. Time to kill is going to suck there because you don't really have time to react to the rats. But I personally would like to see it a little bit longer just because I feel like you don't get to use your abilities as much. A lot of times the fights just end to the gunfights. There's times I play recon a lot, and there's times where I don't even get to use my little spider, which is a whole other issue. I feel like he's a little, I haven't figured him out quite yet. Most of the time he just runs off and doesn't do anything. Other times he'll track somebody and just chase him down. But most times my gunfights end quickly to the gunfight, and you don't really get to take advantage of the abilities as much. Again, that might be different in team games, probably is much different in team games. But yeah, for solo, it's been kind of rough. Speaking on solo XP seems really bad. There is supposed to be a thing. Where does it say? No, it says somewhere. Say here? I don't remember where. But somewhere it says that somewhere it says that faction XP is 20% more when you're solo or rook, which is nice, but I don't believe that contributes to your season level, your character level. So as you can see, I'm only level 19 and I've played about 30-ish hours, somewhere between 30 and 40 hours. I know people that played half the time of me, but played in groups all the time, or most of the time, are the same level. I am not going to get to level 30. I wasn't really trying to. I don't really care because it's just gear that you're getting. If it was like skins and stuff, I'd probably be a little more annoyed by this. But the thing is as a solo, when I go in, I'll go to one POI. I'll try and fight the 1 or 2 people that are usually spawning in and around that POI. I'll fight the AI, I'll loot, and then I'll extract there. There's really no reason as a solo to go to other POIs unless you're trying to do a quest or something where you have to go to a specific spot, whatever. Most of the time you hit one POI and your inventory is full with, for me, usually decent stuff. Like I'll have mods and implants all filled up. I'll have a bag full of sometimes purples, blues, whatever. I'll have a good amount of loot. There's no reason for me to go anywhere else. So I extract and then I come out with maybe 100 to 200, maybe a little into the 200s in terms of player XP. And it's just like that the XP kind of sucks as a solo. Again, is it a deal breaker? Not really. It probably won't matter too much in the full game. Here it did kind of matter because if you wanted to get to level 30, it was kind of tough as a solo. So yeah, that's basically what I said here. I go from one POI, I go to the one POI I start at, unless I have a quest, then I'll go to the other one. And I just kind of hang out there fighting mobs, and then extract, and I don't really get too much. So yeah. Moving on. I said this one's kind of big in a way. It is, but it isn't. It's not like a game breaking kind of deal. But I feel like the skyboxes are kind of shit. Maybe it's just because there's so much fog all the time. But if you look at like Destiny 2 skyboxes, oh, I don't know why my caps lock is on. If you look at the skyboxes in Destiny, they're very interesting. Some of the best skyboxes I've seen in games. Destiny is a great looking game. And I feel like we just don't get that in this game. Now, to be fair, I play a lot of perimeter. I do play Dire Marsh as well, and I think Dire Marsh is a little bit better, but it's still kind of hard to see because of all the fog. There is some more interesting stuff in the sky in Dire Marsh, but yeah, just the maps overall are kind of bland, but they stand out and feel a lot better than they are, I think, because of the bright colors of the stuff, right? But like the ground, the terrain, the foliage, the rocks, all that is kind of bland. And again, it's not like a huge deal, but just something I noticed, and something I do hope, especially with the skyboxes, just looking up in the sky in Destiny and seeing some of the really nice skyboxes, it catches your eye, and I just never had that playing Marathon. Again, part of that could be because of the fog, but yeah, just something I noticed. Another one, the lack of being able to clear keybinds is kind of crazy. I have very different controls than other people, so this is stuff that can really affect me. Luckily, it hasn't so far, but I'm pretty sure somewhere there's a screen too that says some keys can be bound to the same thing and cause issues. I don't know if it says it in the actual menu here. Yeah, down here under my face. right there. Caution, you can potentially map multiple actions to the same button, causing unforeseen circumstances. Well, Bungie, how do you not have a way to clear a slot then? How do you take the time to put that message in there and not be like, oh, we should probably add a way for people to clear keys? That, again, little things like that are what kind of worry me about Bungie. The fact that that was something that was overlooked is crazy to me. Again, luckily I didn't have any issues with it so far, but yeah, that needs to be addressed. Won't get too much into that, but that's definitely something I think needs to be addressed. I think that's kind of it so far, at least from what I'm seeing here. So I think that's kind of it. But yeah, again, I'm not 100% sold on the game just yet. I'll still probably buy it because I do like extraction shooters. Oh, never mind. There is something else. Something else that I don't think has come up too much yet, but I think could. Aim assist, as well as bullet magnetization, I think is what it's called. I don't know if you guys have noticed it a lot, but I've noticed it a little bit. I can't really say anything on the aim assist yet. I do think that's going to be a bit of an issue. I have seen some highlight clips, whatever, from people that are on controller, and the aim assist seems very sticky. I do have some worries there. I do think it was a bit of an issue in Destiny 2 when playing PvP. So I am concerned with that. But I believe there's some bullet magnetization. I think that's what they call. I don't know what they refer to it as, but essentially there is like some pull to your shots. There are times, and I'm pretty sure it's a thing in Destiny as well, where I will shoot a little high, let's say high right of a person's head, and it'll still hit them in the head. I don't think it's desync. I think it's this bullet magnetization. And I'm not a big fan of it. I think having games with that bullet pull kind of throw me off for other games. I'm somebody that prides myself on what skill I do have. Not that it's a crazy amount of skill, but I pride myself on being able to aim and hit my shots. So having that assist, that bullet pull, makes me feel like I'm worse when I go play other games that don't have that. It's just that little crutch that kind of makes you get a little loose and not quite as tight with your shots. So again, I don't know if it's a huge issue yet, but I could potentially see it being an issue. So that's just one I'm kind of keeping my eye on, but it's something in the back of my head that I'm very mindful of. Another thing I was thinking of as this came up, I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I haven't personally got to mess around with it too much. But thermals seem ridiculous. I have seen some crazy clips where people are using sniper rifles with thermals on it. Not only does it zoom to your full screen, so your entire screen is thermal, but the range on it is ridiculous. People, especially with how foggy the maps are and stuff, people are using these thermals to snipe people across the maps. And like, you can't hide in smokes, there's really not anything you can do. People keep talking about signal jammers, but I don't think that makes you invisible to stuff like thermals. It just makes you blurry in general. you can still see the person. They're just blurry, like they're censored, right? I don't think signal jammers help you with that. Now, every single extraction shooter that I can think of, aside from Arc Raiders, because that's a little too high tech, I think, for that game, but any game ABI went through it, Tarkov went through it. Thermals are not a good thing, in my opinion, especially when they're this easy to come by. Like I've got a bunch here, and I didn't even notice I had them. I think these things need to either be deleted or they need to be extremely, extremely, extremely rare, because the advantage you get from these seems absolutely insane when there's no counter to them, essentially no counter to them. But yeah, that's something I noticed as well. And I guess in a way, I don't like Assassin. I think that invisibility, I don't think it has any place in extraction shooters. That shit is going to cause some seriously, seriously bad, feels bad moments. And I don't like it. Both the thermals and the invisibility, when there's really no counter to it. That invisibility, as far as I know, is like a, what is it, like a 60-second cooldown, if that. It's not a very long cooldown. The only real way I can think to counter it, and why I play Recon, is with Recon's Prime ability, and that's on like a several minute cooldown. And even Recon's ability starts to push into a realm of, I don't know, the wall hacks you get from it. Now, it is nice that it's kind of a low refresh rate. It's not like an instant wall hack, auto tracking. Like, you don't see the person's exact location at every moment. There is like a refresh rate, which is something that could go on the thermals to help as well, having a lower refresh rate on the thermals, so it's not just a perfectly clear thermal vision. But yeah, some of those abilities I think are getting to the point, or are at the point where it's going to cause some bad situations, some really bad feels bad moments. I think it'll be more of an issue, at least the invisibility. I think that'll be a little bit more of an issue in solos, because again, with the time to kill, guy comes up on you invisible and you're just dead and there's nothing you can really do about it. That's going to happen in general, but when they're invisible as well, especially if they're like, I don't know, far out with a sniper rifle or something like that, or whatever, if they're out of audio range and you now can't see them either, I think it's going to cause some really bad situations. I don't think they're just going to straight up delete Assassin. But yeah, I want to get it out there that I think that's going to be a potential problem. In group play, obviously, if an assassin sneaks up on you and kills one of your teammates immediately, you can still react with the other two players. It's a little bit easier to deal with there, but yeah, in solos, I think it's potentially going to be an unpleasant point. But we'll see. I think that's it now. I think that's all I wanted to kind of go over and talk about. But yeah, again, I'm not 100% sold on the game. I'm still probably going to buy it just because, again, I like extraction shooters. I want to see where this is going. I do like, I wasn't 100% sold on the art style. I'm still not in a lot of situations, but I very much appreciate, I said this from the start, as soon as they announced this game, the art style's not necessarily for me, but I do appreciate that they did something different, and it's not just another, just, you know, Unreal Store asset kind of look, you know, that generic look. I really do appreciate it, and I really, really like the faction vendors, and how unique they all are. Not only to other games, but unique to each other too. They all have a very distinct and different look. So I really appreciate that. Especially Vulcan. I love the Pharaoh Fluid Ripley Lion. Yeah, I really like all that. This guy's kind of whatever. He's just mysterious, I guess. I really like all that. I really hope they go deep with the lore, like I know Bungie can. And I really hope they do some interesting quests, some interesting storylines. I really want to see what the raid type thing is going to be, and how that's going to function in an extraction shooter. One of my favorite things in Destiny are the raids, if not my favorite thing. I miss doing day one raids, getting the guys together and learning a raid together on day one. I love that stuff. So I don't know how deep they're going to go with that, because I know one of the things with raids and dungeons and stuff was that it's very expensive to develop. So I don't know how that's going to translate over with Marathon here. I don't know if they're going to go that same super intricate level, or if it's just going to be I hope it's not just dunking moats. I really hope it's not dunking moats or dunking glowing balls or dunking anything. Maybe a little bit of that, but I hope there's a lot more to it. But those are the things that are kind of keeping me interested in this game. And yeah, I really hope Bungie does well with it. But we'll see. We'll see. There have not been very many successful extraction shooters, because again, I don't think a lot of these developers understand what, in my opinion, is the concept of an extraction shooter, and that's kind of the hardcore, tense, unpredictable moments. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see where they go with it and see if Bungie can kind of rebound from a not so great recent reputation. But yeah, time will tell. Yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if you guys are interested in any specific types of videos. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people doing marathon content. I'm going to try and figure out my own kind of path here. I will be playing mostly solo, so a lot of it will be based around that. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the depth and stuff goes as well, with all the different builds you can do with the cores and the implants, and there's a lot there. There's a lot to digest, and I know it's going to be confusing for people at first. It's confusing for me as somebody that even plays Tarkov. That can be a very confusing game. There's a lot to learn, a lot to understand and figure out, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, I will catch you all in the next one.